Kyrie Irving has a plan and it's all coming together. We just had a huge report from Shams about Kai potentially wanting to leave the Nets. If they're not going to give him a long-term deal, he's just going to leave. But would he actually do that? Would he actually leave Kevin Durant? What happened to, oh, there's no way I would leave my man number 7. Now you're going to leave him for LeBron James? Are you kidding me? That would be like the most toxic player joining the most dysfunctional franchise. That actually would be a lot of fun. Oh, what was that sound? Oh, LeBron tweeting? Oh, young God Ree is so damn good at basketball, man. Insane skill. So LeBron agrees. Or after Kyrie dropped 41, Kai, stop it, man. Actually, don't. Okay, LeBron, we get it. You are so desperate at this point, you want Kyrie on your team. But all of this is fake news, people. None of it is actually real. This is all just a part of Kyrie's plan to force the Nets to give him a long-term contract. First, he has to convince them, I will actually leave. So these rumors start leaking out. Then the Nets get scared, okay? Because if he leaves, they don't have money to replace him with. Kevin Durant's best teammate would be Ben Simmons, so he demands a trade and their whole team blows up. So I think Kyrie is just bluffing, saying he wants to leave. But why does he want to stay so bad anyway? Is it just loyalty to KD? No, it's about the money. Brooklyn can offer him way more than any other team. His max is 5 years, $248 million. Even if they agreed to 4 years, it's $191 million. The most any other team could offer is 4 years, $184 million. This is Kai's last big deal of his life. He wants to cash out, but they don't want to give him a big deal. So how can he twist their arm? By threatening to leave. So the threats need to be real. I want to go through every single rumor to explain how real they are, but then explain why Kyrie is actually risking everything. First up is the Clippers. Shams reports that Kyrie either wants to live in LA or New York. Shocker. But none of those teams have cap space. That means there are 3 ways for them to land Kyrie. Number 1 is to clear cap space. Number 2, a traditional trade. Or number 3, a sign and trade. Option 1 does not work for the Clippers. They are so far over the cap, they cannot get rid of enough salary. I mean, they got rid of like Kawhi and Paul George. It's not realistic. So option number 2 is a trade. The Clippers can offer a combination of Norman Powell, Marcus Morris, Luke Kennard, and Reggie Jackson. Now we know who the Nets want. They want Norman Powell. He is by far the best player of those 4 guys. The Nets want Norman Powell, Luke Kennard for Kyrie. Brooklyn gets a 2-way guard and a young shooter in Luke Kennard. For the Clippers, I mean, this makes actually basketball sense. They need a point guard who has playoff experience. Kyrie is that. And Kyrie's bad defense is covered up by the Clippers' great wing defenders. But what about his toxic personality? That's why you're getting him for role players. Normally a player as talented as Kyrie takes like all-star young players, 1 million picks. This is like that Seinfeld episode where Jerry's car smells so bad, he can't even get a carjacker to steal it. Kyrie stinks, but he has a really great car, and the Clippers need him to get past the Warriors. Option number 3 is a sign and trade. The Clippers get Kyrie for Norman Powell, Marcus Morris, and Reggie Jackson. With this, Kai signs a 4-year max deal for $46 million a year before the trade. The Clippers only do that if Kyrie demands it, but ultimately, I think the Clippers are the least realistic of these rumors. Next is the Knicks. Coach Tom Thibodeau is a huge Kyrie fan, and they can use every option to get him. First, clear cap space. The Magic get Alec Burks and Evan Fournier plus the 11th pick. The Pistons get Kemba Walker, Nerlens Noel, and the 42nd pick. And the Knicks get a couple of second-round picks. This clears up $46 million, enough for a 4-year max contract for Kyrie. They need to pay Orlando and Detroit to take those contracts, but a couple of draft picks is not the end of the world. Option 2 is a trade. The Knicks get Kyrie, the Nets get Julius Randle and Derrick Rose. And actually, Julius Randle would be a decent teammate for KD. Like, I think you could sell him on this. First, he's an upgrade in the front court over Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge. With Ben Simmons running point, that could work. The most likely option, though, would be Kyrie demanding a sign and trade to get that max contract, and that would also take Julius Randle and Derrick Rose. But is this likely? Actually, yes. A lot of people might say, oh, the Nets would never deal with the Knicks. They don't have to. The Knicks can just clear cap space to get Kyrie. That's why this is so likely. There are so many different scenarios for Kyrie to be a Knick, and Julius Randle is by far the best player that the Nets could get back. I actually think of the Clippers, Lakers, and Knicks, the Knicks have the best chance to steal Kyrie. But the most fun team is the Lakers. Now, Kyrie and LeBron, we know, have had their personal beef. They were teammates. Kai demanded a trade, which hurt the Cavs. He wanted to be out of LeBron's shadow, but they have buried that. I mean, you saw LeBron's tweets earlier, but did you hear what Kyrie actually had to say recently?
And we've had conversations, me and Bron, plenty of conversations. So
y'all cool?
That's my dog, yeah.
Shout out Bron.
Yeah, shout out to Bron, man.
So they are cool. This could happen from a personality standpoint, but how does it actually happen? Well, the Lakers are way over the salary cap. They cannot clear space. It would have to be a trade. And you know what that means. Russell Westbrook! No, stop. Just stop. First of all, the Nets would never do that. They wouldn't bring in Russ for any reason. And also, Kevin Durant would never ever do that again. Be Russ's teammate. It would have to be someone else. They would have to keep Russ. And so actually, I think if this happened, you know, Russ plays point, Kai plays, they would just send Russ home. Okay, just go home. Or they would waive him. The trade would be the Lakers getting Kai, the Nets getting Kendrick Nunn on a sign and trade, Talen Horton-Tucker, Austin Reeves, Wenyen Gabriel, Stanley Johnson, and that 2027 first. This deal basically ensures that KD demands a trade because all these players suck. The only way that the Knicks actually do this is if Kyrie says, look, I'm gonna leave anyway, so you either sign and trade me to the Lakers or you just get nothing for me. But all of this is a giant risk by Kyrie Irving. To float out these rumors, he could lose everything. The Nets could call his bluff. All they have to say is, oh, you want to leave? All right, then go ahead and leave. The only teams with cap space are horrible. It's the Thunder, the Pacers, the Pistons, the Magic, and the Spurs. Oh, or he could go to the Knicks. They suck too. Okay, the only way for him to get paid and to win is to stay in Brooklyn. And we will know what happens by June 29th. That's like next week. That's the deadline for Kyrie to opt into his one-year deal as a Net. If he does that, then the Nets will have him on a one-year prove-it deal, and they will have won this game of chicken, okay? Then he will have to prove that he is worthy of a long-term deal. If you want to see what other moves the Nets have to make, I made an entire Nets offseason video. From the biggest decisions like Kyrie to even the little underrated ones like the fact that Nick Claxton and Bruce Brown are both free agents, which is a big deal. Or you can watch the offseason playlist. We have gotten to almost all 30 teams. They're both right here.